I mean, I think if you look at there's a recent example of IPO of a buy now pay later company, Klarna. So if we're going to look at a valuation today, we could use their sort of comparables, and that would put the price at a significant amount above that $26 per share, probably a factor of 10 or 20. I think $500 a share is reasonable, maybe more. Another way to look at it would be look at the value at the time of the consummation of the stock split, the disproportionate dilution, when valuations were even higher, and then it could be $1,000 per ordinary share. What I've recommended to them is they need a true independent valuation. The valuation that M-Kopa is going to talk to you about right now, they commissioned internally, and they basically gave the valuation firm the answers. It looks like a legitimate valuation, but Hula and Loki basically just hit whatever number that M-Kopa's board supported. So you're going to hear about that in this upcoming forum that they're holding. They're going to talk about this valuation you got. It's complete bullshit, and I'll do a later video explaining why. Sorry, keep going. It's okay. Well, I mean, what's the motivation for? It's like, what's the motivation for a bike thief to steal the bike? It's like it's a free bike. Like they basically moved shares from the ordinaries to themselves, both the growth shareholders and the preferred. And yeah, it was stupid. It was high risk. Obviously, they got lawsuits in multiple jurisdictions. Okay, so just the 3-to-1 is this. Just roughly, you can say back in 2019, just maybe you knew a preferred shareholder, and you had one ordinary share, and they had one preferred share. Well, without either of you putting any more money or whatever, the preferred shareholders now has 3 shares because of the split, and you still have one. So to the extent they're offering $27 per preferred share, you have to multiply that by 3 to adjust to what your price should be, because you didn't get the free thing and you should have. They were not allowed to disproportionately dilute you. So I think that backs into like $85 a share. But even that's too low because this round is an internal round. So it's basically being the price, and this is true, unfortunately, since every round, really, since the initial Series F, led by BII, is there has not been a round with like a true outside price valuation, including where they converted the notes, including the share recapitalization of the ran that affected the stock splits, etc. Well, I forgot what question I was answering. Just say the last bit is long. Go ahead. Yeah. I think I'll do a longer form video on that. But the spreadsheet that's contained on the MKopa website that has the document dump, if you look at that, you might be able to see basically, how this split was affected. And let me do a later one, and I'll screenshot the part of the resolution where the gross shares went from that 6,825 to that whatever millions it exploded in that 388 to one, which was by design. That was part of the same plan set forth in 2019. Well, if this would have been caught early, perhaps, or M-Kopa's board and BI generations, like they could reverse the problem when it was first brought to their attention, which was well before my pre-trial protocols in the UK started in December of 2023, when I was speaking to board members, basically saying what you did is, but I'm going to sue you. So like if they would have fixed it then, they could have just reversed the split. But unfortunately, they fought it for 2.5 years, and so now it's like reversing it and taking payment in forms of shares for the ordinary shareholders is just not acceptable because we don't trust them anymore. You've shown that you'll mess around with the cap table. So what needs to happen is evaluation needs to be done to see what the valuation of the company is, and then figure out the exact disproportionate dilution. I think it was about 2/3. So that's that 3-to-1. You can use that as a rough guide. 2/3 was wiped away. So, if, yeah, so, Yeah, let me just clarify that the stock price comment earlier. Because the disproportionate dilution, right now we've got an illegitimate cap table. So there, maybe the if you valued the company, the ordinaries would be maybe worth like 150 to 200, but then you have to adjust back the two-thirds dilution, and that gets you up to 600 or 800 or whatever it might be. So right now, yeah, with the ordinaries reflecting 6 point something's very small of the cap table when they just a couple of years ago represented 27%, and the big difference is because of the disproportionate dilution. um but first thing is that company needs to come to the table, and then we need to value the company. We need to decide the exact disproportionate dilution. I've shared my spreadsheets with them. They've not shared theirs with me. I requested them. Bummer. So now we're on YouTube. Next question. So I think there's so most of these people were in the option plan, Kenyans and Ugandans, some of which have exercised and actually own the shares outright, most of which still hold unexpired options. And there's sort of a side story there that maybe I'll take up in another video about whose options they expired and who they decide to extend. I'll give you a clue. It's not based on the circumstances of the departure. It's based on other circumstances that I think will be very difficult for the company to justify. So if I was going to guess, there's about 75 to 100 in that plan in total, but some of them you're going to have to deduct some out because um, some of the employees that were still around when the growth shares were given were basically compensated for their dilution in ordinaries by a equal or greater grant of growth shares. So they're obviously not affected because they were made whole at the time for whatever reason. These were the chosen people. Um, um, they appear to be substantially North American and European, that basically got that benefit. And it didn't matter if you were in the company still or not, because there's three of the earliest employees of the company that are in the company still today, senior positions, Kenyans, who did not receive this make whole grant. So they just saw their ordinaries crushed down. While other expatriates that work there saw basically their ordinaries crushed down, but then they were given a grant of growth shares along with it. So I forgot what question was answered, but former place. So I don't know. Like there's probably about 60 people that they need to pay compensation to. The vast majority being Kenyans and Ugandans in the option plan. So I'm not sure I understand completely. It's basically what kind of brought this on. And I think my bike example earlier is just like if you think you can get away with it, and they thought they could because of the limitation of the information rights that they put on these shares, where they set basically an amount where the vast majority of you were not notified. I think I'm the only one perhaps in this position that actually got the information. And I guess I don't know. They thought I'd be a good guy while they screwed over the people I hired. Um, so anyway, but it was started with basically some contention at the board, some drama when an investor called Treehouse Investments exercised their right to take like a little. I won't go into mechanics, but like a little extra equity that was more than what BII thought they were entitled to because they both put in money at the same time into the same series, and basically uh, yeah, there was sort of a there was a lot of drama, and this is when I think BI when they got diluted more than they thought, when there was a proposal to increase the size of the option plan, because we had to accommodate these new wide hires. That basically wasn't going to come out of BI, sure, that's for sure. So that's when this plan was hatched. That's my view of it based on kind of documents and also sort of insider knowledge of what was going on the board at the time. So September 22nd, I think I mentioned in an earlier video, there's a hearing. Turns out the evidence is not going to be presented there. It's actually just like I mentioned of who's representing me and who's representing M-Kopa. This is purely around my information rights for them to basically reveal information from the stock option plan, which I'm entitled to, so I can help them find the employees whose records they lost. They lost a lot of the records of employees in the option plan from the early days of people who still have a legal and moral claim on those options. So it's a very narrow issue, and it's a subset of like 100, I think, probably 100 information requests that I've had put in over the years. Yeah, it's not super important. Focus on the pizza video and the disproportionate dilution. Getting those 15 or 20 more employees whose records they lost. It's important to me, but it's small in the terms of things. It's not small for those people, but I think unfortunately it kind of shows it's a symptom of the same problem, the structural racism problem. Lose any records of any employees with my skin color. I think they renamed it to confuse people who are trying to basically trace through the articles and the confirmation statements to see that basically some certain shareholders just got big gifts of shares and others didn't. It's very difficult to see that if you're just going on the company's SUS website because of the renaming. I can't see what other purpose it achieved. I can't read the mind, and I don't know why they did it, but that would be my best guess to make it harder for people to analyze this from the outside. Okay, right. That's not how much they should be paying for the ESOP shares. So I think that's being used as shorthand for ordinary shares. I think I said earlier, I mean, we need to do evaluation, but if you based it on, a recent market action, Klarna, which sort of similar situation, big buy now, pay later, similar duration of loans. Maybe Klarna's is a little bit shorter duration, but the financials statements, look broadly similar. This is a great public comparable for it. Now you got to take a discount because we operate in emerging markets with exotic currencies and all that stuff. And Klarna, I think, is Swedish or whatever, but they listed in New York. I don't remember. But if you look at the metrics of like multiple revenues, how they're valued, because they're still kind of not quite consistent and profitable, and then value M-Kopa at the same way, and then subtracted out the 2/3 for the disproportionate dilution, saying that's legitimate. I mean, you'd be up in the many, many hundreds of dollars a share, north of $500, $600 a share. So compare that to the 26 that they're offering me now. I'm not saying you shouldn't take it. $26 times 1,000 shares if you have it is a lot of money by any measure, but it's not what you're really owed.